Hi everybody, this is Justin Elliott with Elliott's Estate Sales, and this is going to be part 3 of an 8-part series called Bizarre Estate Sale Stories, basically. And the next one in my little black book is called Paramour with a Backyard of Cars. And if you don't know what Paramour means, I was actually educated by someone that was my lawyer at one point. And for those of you that know, my grammar skills generally suck. I'm not really that good at spelling. I'm pretty good at talking too much. And so for me, that's always been something that I've just, I completely admit I am terrible at grammar. So if you see something on my website, if you see something that I write, nicely, and tell me to correct it. Please don't make me feel ignorant. I already do when it comes to writing stuff. Paramour means someone that you are not married to, but you live with and you have an intimate relationship with for a long period of time. In Oklahoma, we call that common law married, but you're not technically married, and you don't have the same financial benefits of being married, and you could leave at any time. So, and the reason why it's relevant in this particular situation is because when I go to an estate sale, the first couple of questions are, do you know what you want to sell? Do you know what you want to keep? How are you legally involved? Because you would be surprised on who calls me for an estate sale. It could be someone's brother, cousin, sister's, brother's, wife's aunt. And they call me, and I'm sitting here explaining this, all my information, to someone that legally can't even speak to me on behalf of an estate sale. That happens all the time. So the first thing is for me to identify who you are, whether you're the executor, the owner of the stuff, or you're the wife. Are you the deceased inheritance, you're inheriting, stuff from this person? What's going on? Have you purchased the house with all the stuff in it? And you would be surprised on how many different people come to me and contract my service. People that are not affiliated with an estate sale, no one had died, no one had downsized. It's just, maybe a wholesaler or a real estate agent that literally has purchased the house, they're gonna flip it, and they want everything gone. And it just so happens maybe there's, gold mine in the house, and the seller didn't care, didn't know, maybe they live out of state. You would be surprised on how many people sign up for an estate sale and they don't care. So anyway, that being said, this is one of those situations where the particular person that did the estate sale, her name was Nancy. And there was a lot of backlash with this particular situation because, most folks, when they sign the contract that I have, my contract is about 5 pages long. It is the easiest thing to read, and I think probably a 5th grader could understand it. And if a 5th grader couldn't understand it, I could at least explain it to a 5th grader, and they would understand what it means. It was written by a lawyer, but it is written in a way where anyone could understand it. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer those questions. Most of the time I will email a customer my contract before we meet, before I talk to them, any further regarding their estate sale, because I want to make sure that everybody knows all up front what my fees are and what my expectations are of you as a seller and what your expectations of me should be of a liquidator. This particular Paramour situation with the backyard of cars. If you shop my estate sales, if you know who I am an estate sale liquidator here in Oklahoma City. I'm also a reseller. I also teach people how to resell anything and everything. I have resold houses, mobile homes, cars for a profit. I have resold anything and everything that you can imagine. Cars, clothing, windows, anything you can imagine, I have sold and have experience in selling. That is my job, to have a very, very general knowledge on what things sell for and how I can make money off of it. Sometimes for me and sometimes for a seller. That's why they hire me to do estate sales. That being said, this particular estate sale took place in Chickasha. The customer's name was Nancy. And Nancy was a very vibrant older lady that smoked a lot. And, it's very common that I meet, they come from an age range where, smoking was popular. That's how you kept your figure. It was stylish to smoke. And this particular lady, she was a fighter. She was an older lady and just spunky and fun. She was short. I had a blast with her. And, again, every single person that calls me, there's always someone that they're either running from, someone that they hate. Maybe they're selling their stuff because they don't want their daughter to know they're having a sale. They don't want their family to know that they're going to have a sale because, I don't know if you've ever had a sale or if you've ever seen how people act when someone dies. I do every day. People come out with the most greediest mindset. People come for blood. People come for the stupidest things that they think that are sentimental value, or maybe that they think that are valuable, because they don't want their family to have it. I'd love to say that death is, it's a positive thing, and it is sometimes a positive thing, but for the people that are, here still and fighting over, the deceased things, you will see the nastiest things come out of them. But back to Nancy. Nancy was a super nice lady. We met, did a contract, and she was like, don't tell my daughter and don't tell my boyfriend that I'm having an estate sale, because if they find out, they are going to shut this whole thing down. And I said, okay, well, I don't try to keep my estate sales a secret, and there's, quite possible if they live in the local area, they're going to see that I'm having an estate sale, especially if they type Chickasha or they type estate sale, or maybe they follow me already. I don't know. I mean, we have a pretty far reach here in Oklahoma. And so we did the estate sale. I set up the estate sale. It was a really cool little house, lots of antique stuff, but most of it was repro. She literally designed the house from thrift stores, and a lot of it was legit stuff. It just wasn't super expensive stuff, but it presented well. And an estate sale is all about presentation. It's all about making a story, and that's what I try to do with my estate sales, is present to you guys with the honest truth as to what's going on, and why we need to have an estate sale. And so with that said, this lady wanted to sell her house in the middle of Chickasha. It was kind of by a school, if I can remember correctly. A little small little house, and it was green, super cute, built in the 20s, and it didn't even have central heat and air. I think a floor furnace, but it was an awesome cottage, so cute, and all the stuff in it was period or from the 50s, and it was like a reproduction of what should have been there in the early 20s or 30s. So, and then, we negotiate the estate sale, and then we go into the backyard. Well, the backyard is full with, a gold mine, in my mind. Certain cars were there, and if you, went to this estate sale, you know which estate sale I'm talking about. It was a very popular estate sale. It's one of the estate sales that I have with one of the pictures with all the lines of people to get in, because I like to take pictures of the lines in the houses. It creates a story. There's lines there, and there is about 7 vintage cars. None of them run. All of them are complete, but they don't run. They've been sitting for about 5 or 10 years, and the boyfriend, apparently, they wouldn't fit at the boyfriend's house, because the boyfriend had a house too, Nancy's boyfriend. So all of these wonderful cars are in Nancy's backyard, right? So he's getting to store these awesome cars for free in Nancy's backyard. Well, I did some research because I wanted to confirm the legality, first of all, of her actually selling these cars that weren't titled to her, first of all. Now, she did own the property, and since she owned the real property, the stuff on it, technically, if it wasn't legal, if it wasn't titled properly, and he abandoned them, she could sell them. And so she did sell them without him knowing that she sold them. Now, in my contract, there are certain agreements beforehand, and there are agreements once you sign the contract that if you pull stuff or you try to renege on what we have, actually negotiated already, or if you try to be dishonest with me, that there are circumstances that apply. Because I can't control what you do. It's emotional time. Sometimes people try to take stuff back, they change their mind, and here I am promising my estate sale, customers, shoppers, all this amazing stuff, and then they get there, and they're mad at me because you pulled your stuff. So I still have to get paid for that. And sometimes it could be 50% of the commission, sometimes it's 100% of the commission, depending on how large the sale is and what they took. We liquidated the whole house full of stuff. We liquidated most of the stuff in the house in about the first couple hours, because, there was probably 50, 100 people that came to this estate sale. It was in Chickasha, and not a lot of estate sales that are presented like this, do real well in Chickasha. It's a small town, and so if you're going to go to Chickasha, you're going to have to come from, Ada, Norman, Noble, that area, okay? So, south of Norman and Oklahoma City. And we get there, we sell 3 of the cars, and I can't get the boyfriend to come to the sale to notarize all the titles. And finally, after calling, and raising hell for Nancy, they've agreed to sell these cars, and I've got all these people that are here to buy the cars. They've got cash ready to spend and buy these cars, and they're getting mad at me because they don't have the titles. Well, finally, we're able to get him there. And he's, resentfully signing because, here, the Paramour, Nancy, has already sold these items. And legally, there's nothing he can do about it because, for one, all the tags on the title, all the tags on the cars, they were all expired. Many, many years expired, okay? Always update your tags. And the city of Chickasha had fined her many, many times to get all of these cars out of the backyard because she was storing them illegally. There are so many city ordinances that people violate, and when I go to an estate sale, I can immediately tell you in what municipality that you work in, or that I'm working in, what you're breaking. And for me, it's a conflict of interest because I don't want to be fined for that while I'm doing an estate sale there. So, I found this out by looking it up on the city, and, confirming that she owned the house, Nancy. So I felt as though that I was completely legit in doing it, and I was helping her out and keeping her, legal with the city and maybe not placing as large of a lien on her home for the tickets, because it had been, 8 months that they got tickets. It ended up being a complete disaster. And what I would say is definitely shit hit the fan. I try not to cuss on my channel. For those of you that know me, I try to tone down my cussing. If you were here standing with me, I probably would be cussing more. If you are okay with me cussing more, leave me a comment, tell me you're completely fine with that. You might even, learn maybe a new word. But I really try to keep my cussing to a limit. We had a shitstorm. The mother let the daughter know that we were actually doing our job and what we were hired to do, which was to sell the cars and everything on the property so that she could try to list the house for sale herself so that she could move in with her boyfriend. So again, they were, trying to get rid of her stuff and his stuff so that they could move into this other home in Chickasha. So daughter gets there, immediately calls the police on me, tells the police that I coerced her mother into selling the stuff that is in the sale that had been advertised for a week. And not only that, I think it had been advertised for the week, but we had signed a contract like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before. Strands and strands of text messages of, what she wanted me to do, what she wanted me to do, what she wanted me to sell, what I had confirmed to sell. And the police did absolutely nothing. The police trespassed me from the site, and we had to take it up in court. The particular estate sale that I'm talking about now, I want to say it was like 6 to 8 months before the case was settled. It was settled in my part. My lawyer did an okay job. The lawyer that I used was absolutely terrible. But I did have a really good contract, and I did really, really good job of proving, that my situation and what she had agreed to and, what we had confirmed as my responsibility. So we came for a really good outcome. It was actually a difference of about $30,000. So we sold almost all the cars and we sold everything on the property. And by the time she was done, causing a scene and doing what she said and doing the things that she did online, and I'm sure you could probably find some of the things that she said about me online. Her daughter was from Norman, and she's actually a teacher. But I do feel as though many, many people need to know the truth about estate sales, and folks need to stop staying behind a keyboard and writing hateful things. Until you've been there and until you've been in my shoes and until you've come to an estate sale, until you've done an estate sale yourself, you cannot judge me. And it is hilarious to see that people are so narrow-minded and they believe everything that they hear. That is the end of Paramour with a backyard of cars.